Hi, it's me, Ingrid IFP, and welcome to a driving license for ADHD, where I go through this book that's in Swedish, where this is going to be the last part, I hope, and this is going to be about how to keep driving well. And so this part is going to be about how to lessen distractions and how to make your concentration better and to stop procrastination. So first it talks about our patient who helped write this book, Karl. And Karl has difficulty with focusing, especially when he has to fill in different formula, different papers and stuff, and he'd be distracted by some other thoughts. So he starts thinking about why am I even doing this? Then he starts thinking about something completely different, and then he forgets what he was about to do. So sometimes we find something exciting and still we have difficulty doing it. So first strategy that they talk about is check how long time it takes before you start getting distracted, so you can time yourself, and see if you can make a boring task that you have to make into smaller bits of 10 minutes each. And then, so number one is to be able to separate it into separate parts, and then see how long you can do that before distractions come. And then you exercise trying to work a little bit longer before you take that break. So first you start with 5 minutes, and then you go over to see if that works, and then 10 minutes, and then 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I think the Pomodoro technique is 25 minutes, where that's supposed to be the best for neurotypical brains, but maybe it's not, maybe it's too long for an ADHD brain. Karl has a hard time with this because he feels like he's just threading water and not getting anywhere with all this, so he gets a little bit sad. He gets sad about relapse and that kind of thing. He often gets distracted, and he feels like some things can't be changed, but he can at least get the help that he needs, and try to fix your environment so that you can handle different things. So here we're talking about how to take control of your working environment, because if there's a lot of mess, then it's going to be messy in your brain too. So the strategy here is to find things that work, the things that distract you and the things that work to stop those distractions. So for example, turning off the sound on your phone, closing down your internet browser, make sure that your table is clean and doesn't have a lot of distractions. That you turn off the TV or the radio. Make sure that other people don't come and distract you while you're working. For some people, they say that it might be good to not have your working table in front of a window, because then you'll get distracted by the window. For me, I like having the windows so that I get some sunlight. But there are different ways of doing this. And so it's about all the sensory things, inputs that can come in, and how we're going to minimize the effect that they have on you. So for example, here is the different, Karl has different sensory problems, and this is how he is going to stop them. So a problem is, for example, that the TV is on. So the solution is turn off the TV and radio. Another one is people come and distract me. What Karl does is that he closes the door and he says, do not disturb on the door. Or the telephone calls and he gets an SMS. Turn off the sound on your phone, turn off the vibration on your phone, and place the phone far away from you. And another distracting is to hear other people talking on the phone. And so here he's going to close his door or put on headphones. So this is what Karl did in 2010. And so then they tell you, make your own charter. It's important to have a clean and orderly environment around you. And this is important for Karl too, because, well, he has ADHD. So next step is not forgetting all of our things. So how do we do that? We have to know where our things are. Have places for all your important things, so that you, don't forget where you put them. You can even tell your partner, to remind you where the things are. If you have a hard time finding your keys, clip them to your bag or that kind of thing. Try to find a system that works for you. But it's all sorts of different things. The psychologist here says that one of her clients with ADHD is, he's a handyman, and he drew the outlines of his tools on the wall and had a hook there so that he could put them on the wall, and he could easily see what was missing and where to put the things. So Karl always loses his phone, so he keeps it in one pocket and he doesn't make it leave that pocket. Another thing is Karl wants to be able to have a backpack, and Karl says that it's never going to work, but then he works on having that backpack with him, and in the end he has it on him all the time. I think that's mostly a problem for men, because women, usually we bring a ton of stuff with us that we might not even need. Because, women have purses. I think that men in general have bigger pockets, so it's easier to keep things. But so what they tell us to do here is to make sure that you choose one thing that is important for you not to lose. Then decide where that thing has its place, and make sure that the place is clear, and then exercise that. And take only one thing at a time. You can't suddenly remember everything from the keys to the phone to everything that you might be losing. Then next strategy is using reminders. So you can put it as a post-it on your computer and at work, or you can have it in your phone. But Karl has a hard time with having an alarm on his phone because it became too stressful. So for him, visual reminders were better than auditory reminders. So here a way is to see what things do we need to a reminder. Either use alarms for an auditory reminder or a visual reminder. Next thing was how to use checklists, like what you need to pack or that kind of thing. So Karl has to pack, and you need to have different, put it into different steps and say how many times and minutes it's going to take. And that is extremely difficult. So I have linked in the description box below a website called goblin.tools, which does that kind of thing for you. And it's amazing. It's like AI for ADHD people, really useful. So Karl makes a checklist to remind himself what he's going to, what he has to buy, and he checks it every week. And Karl also makes a checklist for the week of like, so what does he have to do? He has to check his blood pressure, because that's something that he has to do. He has to also check his medicines. He has to check the different like stuff that he has at home. What is the stuff that needs to be fixed this week? And he does this every week together with his occupational therapist. These things take a long time. Karl gets frustrated, but it's okay. So that's about like the different distractions and stuff. The next things are about CBT, and we've already gone through CBT on this channel, so I won't be going too much into detail. So CBT is about, you know, automatic negative thoughts and transforming them into like constructive thoughts, and how our cognition, our behavior are linked, and that kind of thing. But 2 seconds. So they use an example where you're driving, because this is a driving book, where you went to go like straight ahead, and you're on your way, and you're like completely like set on staying straight ahead, but then there's a sign there that says that you can't go straight ahead, that you have to, like, that it's a one-way street, and so you have to adapt. And it's like, and it's difficult because you're like so set on doing it in a certain way, and then it's like, that's not how it's supposed to be. And so then you get all these automatic negative thoughts, and they can be difficult to stop, because you're like, oh, I really want to go forward, but I can't, because these thoughts are like, you know, you're not flexible in your thinking. So that's kind of what CBT is kind of becoming more flexible in your thinking. And so they talk about automatic negative thoughts that we've talked about in the social anxiety CBT. For example, like, if I don't do this now, I am like a failure, or my boss is going to be angry if I don't do this now, and these kinds of things. So that's that. But here we have Karl, and what does he have a problem with? Karl is completely convinced that he can't use computers, and this is something that he's talked about before. And he's given up on using computers. He says that he's an old person who can't manage computers. But like, the thing is, a lot of society nowadays needs computers. So then in the end they decide that, well, maybe he needs an email address. I mean, but then he realizes that actually that wasn't any problem for him to create an email address. And even if he doesn't use it that much outside of his work, it's good to have it in case it's needed. So here we're talking about negative automatic thoughts that leads to avoidance, that leads to having a loss of meaning and anxiety, and then it gets worse and worse in the spiral. Then we talk about the automatic thoughts, about how Karl likes to cook food. Okay, this is something that has come again and again. And so he wants to buy, like, he really likes that activity, and it's a hobby for him. But he needs a frying pan. But he can't bring himself to buy the frying pan because he just keeps getting distracted and procrastinating. And then he says, well, he gives himself excuses. He's like, well, somebody might buy it for me for Christmas, but then he doesn't get it at Christmas. So then he thinks, oh, well, I guess that it's not useful to have that special wok frying pan. And so then he gives up and he says, no, I don't really want it in the end. But then Karl goes to a secondhand and he finds like a pretty clean and nice frying pan. So he buys that. Now he uses it all the time. And he's really happy about that purchase. But thing is, like, it wasn't like a planned way. And so he got that frying pan a little bit late. So here we talk about the negative automatic thoughts. And it's very similar. It's because these psychologists who wrote both of these books are trained in the same way with the same teachers. So they talk about like a stressful situation, and then the automatic thoughts that come, then how bad it feels, anxiety inducing from 1 to 10, and other kinds of feelings. And so here, in this case, Karl wants to be creative, right? So what he wants to do is he wants to make a sculpture, and he wants to ask his friend for help. And so that's the situation. So we have here the situation. The negative automatic thoughts is, what's the use? I won't be able to like contact my friend. He won't have time to help me. And then the feelings that he gets is that he's scared, he's worried, he feels he's given up. And he rates that an 8 out of 10. So he's pretty worried about this. So then they tell us to make a similar sort of thing about anxiety-inducing situation. And then we're soon there. Then make sure to not like... thing is that he often when you have ADHD, you're just like, oh, well, we'll see how it goes, you know? And then the thoughts start having their own little life. But that doesn't lead to any growth. So you have to be conscious of like how you're thinking and how you're behaving. Because otherwise you're driving the car just wherever the wind blows, you know, you're not driving towards a destination. So it's hard because certain thoughts are stuck to one another. And so you have to like be able to detach yourself and see it from the outside and understand that these are only thoughts and not a part of you or not a part of like your feelings. And Karl realizes that actually he found out from this exercise that he doesn't always think of what he does. That's his reflection. So, and what does he think of that? He says sometimes it's good to not think. Because otherwise, otherwise he would be overthinking. But sometimes it is bad to not think. Like, if he goes and buys shoes and then he realizes that he doesn't have money for food. So then it would have been better if he had thought beforehand. If he had like the money to buy the shoes or not. That's the kind of thing that happens when you have ADHD and you don't really plan things out. You're just like, oh, you see the shoes, they look cool. Exactly what I need. And then you buy it and then you're like, wait. So they talk about look at the thoughts instead of from the thoughts. Because the thoughts are not truth. And they're not orders of what you should be doing. And the thoughts don't need to mean that it's going to lead to a certain behavior. If you think that you're a failure, those are just thoughts. They're not the truth, because nobody is a failure. So looking at the thoughts as if they were signs on the road, and just think, oh, well, those were unfortunate things, but I'm not going to follow those signs, okay? Do as you had planned. So that's that. And then it says, we have a little page left. Another strategy is to try to turn up the volume of your thoughts. Like, this is difficult to translate, so let me see. I think that what they mean is that to be able to see the thoughts, you have to be able to let them take hold of you. That's it. Because otherwise you're just avoiding them. If you're avoiding the thoughts, then you can't do anything about them. Or do anything, like consciously, like let them be. So Karl has managed to avoid a lot of thoughts that have been annoying and difficult. He often says yes to things even though they won't happen, which I relate to a lot. He often, in that way, he satisfies people and then he becomes happy for the moment and he's satisfied. But then the consequence is that it doesn't go too well because people are disappointed that he doesn't care. Or he doesn't care. He does care, but that he couldn't, he flaked out. So what they say is try to find the negative automatic thoughts. Try to just look at the thoughts rather than acting upon them. Don't let them drive you. Do something that you aren't used to doing. That you are too afraid of doing, and try to challenge yourself. Something other than what the thoughts tell you to do. And the last part is about accepting your feeling. So how you can accept your own feelings. I think that we INFPs know this, but it's about emotional regulation. People with ADHD have trouble with emotional regulation because it's also thought regulation. Regulation in general is difficult. And you get very strong feelings when you have ADHD, and this is about the most difficult thing to penetrate. So you have to do either something completely opposite to what the feeling is telling you, or try to distract yourself. There are different ways, or you can stay in the feeling and just let it flow past you. So I think that is the best idea. So the strategy, so what they say is that we have to make a little hallway between feeling and action. A little, we've talked about this in another episode of this, just training on having the feeling. So the strategy is stop breathing, and then take 3 deep breaths. Then observe. See how it feels in your body. This is kind of the mindfulness thing that we have gone through. Just note things, but do not judge. And then think, okay, you accept this thought. I am not my feelings. That the feelings are here, and that's okay. And then ask if you are going to answer that feeling, express it, or let it go. You have the responsibility over your actions. So do not think that you are your feeling. I know that that's hard because as INFPs, we think that we are our feelings, and that's not the case. We have built our identity around our feelings, but we are not our feelings. So try to stop and think, what are the consequences if I act on a certain way? Choose what you want to do before you act. I mean, I think that this is mostly for people with ADHD that act impulsively. So number 4 is ask yourself, what had you thought of doing if you had acted impulsively? Okay. Are you going to like send an angry text to somebody, you know? Or are you going to buy those pairs of shoes or whatever? Then what will you feel when you have said or done that thing that you had thought of doing? You'll be like, oh, well, I'll be feeling good. You know, like I need to get this anger out, so I'm going to text that person. Or I'm going to be really happy that I bought these shoes. But then you have to think, what would you have thought a little bit later? Well, maybe you'll start regretting your purchase, or regretting that you wrote that text to somebody. And then ask yourself, what would you like to do instead? And so you choose how your actions are going to be. You're like, things aren't dictated by your feelings. So that's the last bit of that. There is a little bit here about procrastination, so I'm going to just go a little bit through this, but then we will be done with this. So it's talking about acting now and not later, because procrastinating, leaving things to last minute is a very common thing. And so these things that you haven't done, they distract you from other things, and then it just gets worse and worse. So making things into small pieces and, give yourself a reward afterwards, or you can even give yourself a reward before. And you need to train this again and again. So Karl wanted to buy something for his sister for her birthday, and he was going to invite her to one of her favorite restaurants, and he was going to buy coupons. He decided which day he was going to buy it, but then the closer to the time, the closer he thought that a lot of other things came in the way, and then it didn't happen. In the end, he did manage to fix it. It just took a long time. And then he became better at this, the more he decided to do certain things, and not at the last minute. So what is procrastination? Procrastination is often that it makes you feel good in the moment, and also it gives you a lot of anxiety because you know that there's something that you have to do. Often it's perfectionism. So certain reasons why you would procrastinate is 1, you're scared of failure. 2, you have a hard time initiating certain things if there isn't a time stamp, which is a clear problem with ADHD. 3, this task is overwhelming. Another one is, I don't know where to start. Another one is, I think that this is really boring and it's too difficult. Another one is, it's better to wait until there's more time, which, And another one is, I want to decide for myself. I don't want to be forced to do things. Karl says that it's mostly that he finds things boring. He doesn't like to start things, and he he thinks that it's already like messed up because he's going to get distracted. So that's that. And then, oh, I'm sorry that there's much longer. This is a typical ADHD behavior, isn't it? Okay. But there are positives and negatives with procrastinating. And so the stress is negative. The thing becomes more difficult when you have less time. And then the end result isn't as good as maybe you had thought. And then to ignore it, it gets worse. So Karl wanted to buy a tool, but he can't do it. So here he made like a little chart, which is like the thing that he wants to get is that tool. These are the consequences, short-term consequences, long-term consequences. So these are the positives and the negatives with procrastination. The positives with procrastination in the short term is, well, I can avoid the problem and all the problems that it also causes, and it feels nice. The long-term consequences of positive consequences are not many, none. And another consequence that is positive is that he doesn't need to change. The negatives with procrastination in the short term is that what he has to do does not get done. And then the long-term bad consequences is that it's sad and it's tragic that he never gets what he wants done. So that's pretty sad. So he tells us do the same. And they have helpfully a little rain cloud here drawn for like the sadness of procrastination. Okay, and here is how do we do this? How to get it done? Okay, do the T. The T strategy is gather all of the things that you need done. Okay, for like write a list of everything that you need in order to be ready. Decide what you need to do now and what could wait. And prioritize with the A, B, and C that we've done before in earlier episodes and earlier chapters. So that's number one. Gather all the information. 2 is separate it in several steps and take one step at a time. So write down all the steps so you don't need to think about it. You can just like set it down on paper. The big tasks into smaller tasks. If you need help, go to goblin.tools because it is great. There's a spiciness level, which is how difficult you think that these things are. And you can break down things, and you can break down those small steps, and you can break them down and break them down. And it also has a feature that you can see how long certain things are estimated to take, depending on how difficult you find them. Great website. It also has like a writer help, that kind of thing. It has a lot of tools. Another strategy is a 2 minutes rule. So do everything that requires less than 2 minutes directly. So there is a guy called David Allens who wrote a book that apparently did the 2 minute rule. And he says that a lot of people have their productivity really increased. I know of another one that isn't in this book that is called just the 1, 2, 3, go. So you just say to yourself 1, 2, 3, go, and then you get up. And then if that doesn't work, then you say 1, 2, 3, go again, And 1, 2, 3, go again. And then at a certain point, you will get up. And that helps me, at least. Another strategy is take those negative thoughts and go forward. And it's just like, okay, well, I have these negative thoughts, but just keep going anyway. So then we talk, and like, you don't need to think about what you are doing, just do them, okay? Because your driving has now become automatic. So then we talk about all the things, and now the psychologist talks to Karl. What do you think? Well, he says, it was interesting. And so then they talk a little bit about making this book, which is kind of meta. I like this. So she said that it was a fantastic journey that they had together, and she says that she is grateful that she got to see Karl's progression and his journey. And she's asked Karl, well, what has changed for you? And he said, most things. As ever, Karl is very succinct in his answers. He just says most things. And so, the wish of how Karl wanted to have his life is mostly, fulfilled. He's more active, he meets his friends, he sleeps better, he has a little bit of money left, and he lives a more creative life, which were his goals from the start. His daily life works much better. Now he lives in his apartment, he makes food, and he uses his fridge, which was a hard thing for him. He works without getting distracting in a boutique. And at the beginning, he was... At the beginning, he didn't have a job. So now he has a job at the boutique, and he has his phone, and he puts on his backpack that has his... it has his diary and his planner in it, and he comes on time to work. He also often goes on walks, and he's mostly happy and doing things. Sometimes things are difficult, and these things are hard for him, but he manages to get through them. And he can help himself with making a plan, making things in smaller parts, prioritizing and getting things done, even if it still is pretty difficult. He's more creative, and he's gotten better on focusing, and he also got his... so he has now his driving... his driving lessons are done, and he has his driving license. Metaphorical driving license. But there are still challenges ahead of him. He wants to be an artist, and so doing some art and having a creative life is one thing, but getting his place in the creative world is another thing, and so that is difficult too. So he has to choose which way he has to go. And what does Karl have to say about this? He says it's difficult to make a summary. My life and my daily life now works. I can use these thoughts and these tools that I have to get closer to a creative life if I want to, and if I feel like putting the effort into it. So it's good. So now they want to tell us, congratulations, good job that you've managed and gone through this whole book, and that you have your driving license for your daily life with ADHD. And then they say, congratulations, but be careful. Be careful, because just because you have a driver license doesn't mean that you're never going to get in an accident. Okay, so you have to keep being vigilant, keep working on it, keep driving. So the most important thing is to keep working on it until these things become automatic. And now it's only now that your journey begins, because it's only now that you're allowed to drive the car, pretty much. And so she says that she and Karl say good luck to us, and that they want only the best for us. They want us to develop our skills, find what like makes us like passionate, and to live the life that we want. Thank you for everything. So that was the end of this book. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. These chapters have always been longer than I thought, but I think that I got a lot out of this. I still don't think I have ADHD, but I think that this is kind of helpful for any INFP or anybody who is struggling with getting routines done, or people who are struggling with anxiety or other mental health issues. Tell me what you guys think. Have a great day.